3 weeks from now, it'll be 4 years since we started trying. 4 years. And I'm just getting over it. But throughout the last, I think the first couple of years, I had quite a bit of hope. And with time, the hope is dwindling. And this year, through my failed cycles of IVF, I've literally hit rock bottom and started to lose all hope. And I was feeling a lot of emotions around that. I was feeling really guilty, really upset. I was watching other women persevere and keep going cycle after cycle after cycle. And they seem to just have this endless amount of hope. And they say to me, Katrina, I never doubted, or I don't doubt. I know, I hope, I believe. And for me, with time, I've started to lose hope, and I've started to think, this may never happen. And people say, well, then why are you doing IVF? Because if you're doing IVF, you must have hope. And I think about it, and they're right. Like, I probably have a level of hope, unless I'm just going through the motions because that's what I need to do, or unless I'm going through the motions for closure. I'm not really sure, but there's definitely a level of this loss of hope there. And I was really struggling with that and comparing myself to other women, as we all do, because they seem like they have this endless fountain of hope. And I felt like a worse person for not having hope. So a couple of weeks ago, I actually listened to a podcast by Brooke Castillo. Now, she does the Life Coaching School podcast, which is amazing. It will change your life. Definitely worth listening to. There's so many good podcasts out there. But she was actually talking about how hope can be a bad thing. And she talks about hope in the way of people using hope to not necessarily make active changes in their life. So you say things like, oh, I hope that I'll get pregnant, or I hope my life will get better. I hope that things will change, or, I hope that one day, blah, blah, blah. And she was actually saying that to not have hope can actually be quite a positive thing. And I found that quite astounding, because this is something that I've been struggling with. And she was saying that the lack of hope could instill this drive in you, where you take away the word hope and you say, I am determined to. So instead of saying, oh, I hope that my life gets better, you go, I am determined to make my life better. So there's a level of disaction where you're just hoping and just putting it out there and just, I hope things change. Or there's a level of action where you go, well, I don't have the hope. I am going to make sure that things change, make sure that my life gets better. And so by not having hope, then I've realized that I've started making decisions in my life that have really changed the whole direction of my entire career and my life choices. Because the first 2 or 3 years, I was constantly hoping that things would work out, I would get pregnant, and I would get the maternity leave that I've seen so many girls at work get over and over and over again. 1, 2, 3 girls younger, like 1, 2, 3 maternity leaves, the same girls younger than me. And at the same time, look, I understand that I live in Australia, and I am so blessed to live in this country that even has maternity leave. My parents live in South America. There's not good health care in most of those countries down there. The US, not good maternity leave there. You gotta be very lucky to work for the right company, but even then it's pretty much a joke the time that you get off. Canada's great. Canada has good maternity leave. And in Australia, it's pretty good. For where I work in the hospital, you get a portion of maternity leave, several months off paid by the hospital, and then you also get a portion of leave paid by the government. And, I guess maybe I was entitled, thinking that somehow I deserve this leave, and I watched everybody else get it, and it's not fair, and life isn't fair, and I'm not getting it. And I held on to these jobs, and I held on to this for so long, just going, I will get this, I deserve it, I've worked as hard as they have. And then year after year after year, when it hasn't happened, I've had to let it go. And even my husband would just get so exasperated with me. He'd be like, just let it go. Like, you may never get the maternity leave. Just let it go. Like, do not base all of your life decisions on this so-called maternity leave, because if it never happens, then I never made any other decisions with my life. So this year, you know, hitting rock bottom with the failed IVF cycles and completely losing hope has completely changed all of my life plans. And then now I am determined to start pursuing a life that I really want because I have lost hope. So maybe it's not a bad thing, like Brooke Castillo says. You know, she said, instead of saying, I hope that my life will change, I'm gonna make sure my life changes. And I will continue with the IVF, and I haven't completely given up hope in that aspect, but at the same time, there are no guarantees. I need to surrender the outcome. I don't know what's gonna happen, but by losing hope, I have changed the whole direction of my life. Does that make sense? I'm not saying to stop hoping. I'm just saying there is a place for hope, and there's a place for not having hope, and there's a place for action in your life. So for those of you lucky enough to have a very short infertility journey, you may never go through these long-term emotions that I have dealt with. You might have these emotions initially, but your journey of infertility ends quite quickly and you can move on with your life. But there are those of us where it seems to drag on a bit longer and we start to question, you know, everything. And I don't know if that's a bad thing. It's a horrible journey, but I don't know if it's a bad thing. So if you get a chance, listen to the Brooke Castillo Life Coaching Podcast. It will really inspire you in many ways in your life. And become really in tune with your body. And don't let this journey break you. Allow yourself to be broken and cry and do what you need to do, because I've done it 100 times, but don't let it break you. And like I always say at the end, is this journey going to make you bitter, or is it going to make you better? Because you have the choice.